Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and happy Monday if you're watching this on Monday. It's Sunday for me, so I'm dreading Monday, but it is what it is. So in today's video, I'll be doing something a little bit different, actually something new to my channel that I have not done before. I decided to start doing monthly kit downs because I have fallen into a habit of just not kitting down my projects. I have a little bit of an obsession with storage solutions. So I have amassed so many different types of storage that I tend to just always have something available to grab. And that really hasn't helped me stay organized. So I've decided to start these monthly kit downs where right at the beginning of each month, we will hang out for a bit. We will kit down every project that I worked on in the previous month, and then I'll have a blank slate. Now, I've already kitted up my first project for February. I'm just about halfway through it, actually, which I'm patting myself on the back for that one because I'm pretty proud of that. But this will just help me have a reason to sit down and put these diamonds away instead of just putting them in a container and being done with it. Now, I will say I'm not going to be giving you guys a big overview of my spirit drill storage because we will be completely revamping this in the next couple of months. If you watched last Monday's video, I started reorganizing my special drills. I don't want to have those two projects going simultaneously because I think it will just overwhelm me a little bit. So I'm going to stay on track with reorganizing my special drills. And then once that's done, I'll take on the project of redoing my regular spirit drills. Now, I'm not changing my system because these photo boxes work very well for me. Now, this idea comes from Rebecca from 4Kids at 147, also known as Add More Zest. This is the only way I've ever stored my spare drills, and I do not plan to change that. I just want to revamp what it looks like, make it look a little bit nicer and a little bit more organized. I've started to outgrow this third photo box here. I'm thinking about separating my rounds and squares, so just more things like that as opposed to trying a completely new system. So I'm not going to really go too much in depth. Rebecca has a bunch of videos that she's done on redoing her spare drills. The entire idea, the products, everything, the measurements of the cards and the baggies, all of that comes from her. So if you're looking for that information, I would definitely go check out her channel. And also, they have a small shop where they sell the items. I didn't purchase through her. I just used her video for reference, but definitely check out her channel. Now, if you hear Luna in the background, Steven is away today. He went snowmobiling with his dad. So if you hear Luna, it's just because she's a little lost without one of us out there with her. So hopefully she'll quiet down in a bit and take a nap. I may have to pause and go entertain her for a bit because we don't like to leave her for too long. But she is okay if you do hear her in the background. Something else we'll be doing in this video is I've decided that during my monthly kit down, I will be talking to you about the books that I've read in the previous month. So all of the books that I read in January is what we're going to talk about today. I realize that not everybody is into books. So if this topic doesn't really interest you, I totally understand. It's okay. Feel free to click off and I'll see you guys on Wednesday. But let's go ahead and get into it. So I have 4 kits that need to be put away. I have Asteris. I'll pop the pictures up here in case you didn't watch my month in review. So I have Asteris, Floating Along, Snow Leopard, and Back to Wonderland. Those are the 4 kits we'll be kitting down today. There are 4 rounds, so all of them are rounds, which is nice because my brain won't have to keep reminding itself that we have squares and rounds. So all of these are rounds. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So let me put these over here. And we will start with the Harbor Freights. Now I am standing right now because I've had some comments of people asking if I could keep the camera zoomed out more so that you can see more. I'm very short. I am not even 5 foot tall. So when I sit the camera so I can see what I'm doing, I have to keep the camera kind of close to me. So I'm going to stand for now so that you guys can hopefully see better what I'm doing, but the angle may change if I decide to sit down. So we'll see how that goes. But let's go ahead and get started. I am very curious to know how you all kit down. Are you someone who saves your spare drills? Do you just put them in a jar and keep them? Do you separate them into baggies? I'm very interested. I did a video in December where I threw all of my drills into this big mason jar here, and I gave quite a few people a heart attack because I ditched everything, ABs, everything. I was like, I cannot be bothered. So I'm interested to know. I used to really love kitting down. I love organizing things. I always have. But then it kind of hit me that the time I spent kitting down, I could be diamond painting. And I have enough storage containers where I could just kit up another one and pretend that the already kitted up projects didn't exist. But I don't know. I need to be better. I don't want to keep throwing all of the diamonds out, but I will say it is very, very tempting because it was like minutes and I was done kitting up and it was fabulous, but that's okay. I need to be better. But then, like, what am I gonna do? I don't know. What do I do with all these drills? I have had to go in to my spares a number of times to get diamonds for projects that I've run out on. I know some people are like, why keep your diamonds? I've never, ever had to go into my spares. Now, I've completed over 100 diamond painting kits, so the number of times that I've had to go in for spare drills isn't crazy, but it does happen. I've definitely, probably like 10 times, I would say, I've had to go in and grab a color. Most of the time I have it, which obviously is why we keep the spares, but there have been a few times where I haven't had the color. And if you're working with a company's kit who does not have like a diamond guarantee, I personally recommend Diamond Drills USA. That's where I always go if I need regular DMC color drills, but I'm sure others have different recommendations. And if you have an experience with a company, make sure you leave that down below for everyone. I feel like I'm going to be stopping to take a drink, and I apologize because I know that the sound of people gulping can drive others nuts, which same, but I don't want to just pause and I don't want to keep going. All right, so let's talk about books. I come from a family that reading is like a top priority on my dad's side. Everybody is a reader. Now, when I was younger, I hated it. I hated reading. My sister was the bookworm, and I would have rather been playing outside or playing a board game or something like that. Reading just wasn't it for me. But as I got older, I think like a lot of people, when you're not being told what to read in school or, you know, for a project or something, and you start kind of finding your own preferences with reading, it can be very immersive. So I will say, the books that I read, when I'm reading, I want to escape reality. I don't read, I don't normally read like biographies or anything like that. I want to be like reading something crazy because I want to escape the real world. So I read a lot of not a lot. I read fantasy. I read a lot of romance books, which I know is very like cliche, but I don't know. I just like it. So sometimes it's like the more outlandish, the better. Why not? Like, I know this is never going to happen in real life. It's never going to happen to me, whatever. Why not go for it? So if that's not really your taste, if you're looking for more like classic literature, that's not what you're going to get here. So, you know, I forewarned you. So I don't need the book community, which I'm not trying to enter the book community, okay? It's so like cutthroat over there. There are a few people that I follow, but it's very judgy on what people read. So in my opinion, it's like to each their own. Reading is reading. I love to read. When I'm not diamond painting, I'm reading. I'm very fortunate that I do occasionally get some downtime at work. I work on computers and Chromebooks, and when things are updating or software is installing or all that kind of stuff, and I'm just kind of waiting, you know, I'm very lucky that I can pull my phone out with the Kindle app and I can read a chapter while I'm waiting. So, you know, I do get a little bit of time during the day to read. I usually end my evening with reading. I tend to diamond paint until about 9 p.m. and then I'll read for an hour to an hour and a half. So, you know, I'm able to get quite a bit in during the day. So with that being said, I read 22 books in January. Oh, I will also say, I tend to have a physical book going at the same time I have a Kindle book because, like I said, I don't want to take a physical book at work. I'd rather just read it on my phone. And I feel like I read through Kindle books quicker because you can't really tell like how thick a book is. I have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, and one of the books that I read last month was on Kindle Unlimited, but I loved it so much that I knew I wanted the physical copy so I could eventually reread and possibly annotate it, which is a whole nother thing we could talk about in a different video if you're interested. But the book came in the mail and it was like this big, and I was like, it did not feel like it was that big on my Kindle. So, but yeah, 22 books. Let's go ahead and get started. I keep a good notes journal, so I keep them in order, and I give like my star rating and like a little blurb about the book, and then I find like images and stuff on Pinterest. It's kind of just a fun way to like journal but not have to have all of the physical things to journal. So the first book was A Court of Thorns and Roses. Now I started this book in December, but with the holidays, I didn't get to it. I wasn't able to finish it. So I actually started it again. So I started from page 1 on January 1st. It's A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and it is a fantasy book. I started reading it because it was so popular. Like, even in the diamond painting community, I had heard so many people talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses and the characters, and Jaded Gem Shop has artwork from Mage on Duty of some of the characters, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to read this book. So I did. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I started it on January 1st and I finished it on January 4th. So there were 419 pages. I don't know how much info you guys necessarily want, like you know, I'm not going to obviously spoil books, but do you care when I read it, when I finished it? Do you want to know how many pages? I don't really know. But this is the first book in the series, which I should also mention, I'm a big series reader. A lot of the books I read are parts of series because I love meeting like all of the characters and them getting their stories. So, you know, like when it ends up being a friend group or there's a family with a bunch of siblings and you get to meet all of those characters and everyone that they end up with or whatever happens, I find that really cool. It's kind of like a movie, or, you know, I don't know. I just like, I like seeing it happen. So 543. Some of these I do not have cards for because when I initially started this, my label maker had broken. So you may see me just putting containers over to the side because I don't have a card for them, but I do have a baggie for them, which I think I'll probably do that off camera. So if you see containers just going off to the side, that is why. So A Court of Thorns and Roses, I really did enjoy it. It was the first book in the series, so there was a lot of like world building and like, where are we? Who are these people? Whatever. It is a fantasy, so it's about fairies, and, you know, it may not be for everybody, but I really did enjoy it. And when I do my book room tour, oh, I do have this one. You will, you will see that I have, I really enjoyed it, and I have collected a few like memorabilia pieces. So that was my first finish, and I'm glad I read it. Next up was I'm rereading a series that I read a very long time ago because I kind of fell off of it, and there have been so many books. I'm not kidding you. This series is 22 books long, and the author has just released so many more books since I stopped reading that I was like, I need to take a step back and I need to get caught up. So I decided to reread this on my Kindle. I already owned most of them from way back when. And if you purchase through Amazon, it's really easy to get like digital credits. So I ended up purchasing the rest of the series through digital credits. So I didn't have to spend any real money, which was nice. And that series is The Look of Love, the Sullivan series by Bella Andre. The first book is The Look of Love. Now, I will say that this series is a little spicy. So if you do not like spicy romances, maybe this one isn't for you. It's not like crazy over the top because that makes me uncomfortable, but there are definitely spicy scenes. Hopefully you guys know what I mean by spicy scenes because I don't want to say the word. So the first book is The Look of Love. And I started that on January 3rd and I finished it on January 4th. A lot of those books are quite small. This one was the largest that I've read so far. There were almost 400 pages. But as you kind of go through the series, they get a little bit smaller because you just keep meeting people, if you know what I mean. I really enjoyed this series when I read it the first time around, so I'm still enjoying it. It's nice to kind of revisit those characters again. But like I said, there is some spice. There are also, there's a hint of like domestic violence that's touched on, but it's not like what the story's about, if you know what I mean. It's a romance, okay? They come together, something happens, then they come back together. So that one got a 3-star from me. And then I read the second book in that series, which is From This Moment, which I recall being one of my favorites the first time I read it, and that has not changed. I gave that one a 4-star, and I read that on January 4th, and I finished it on January 5th. So another romance, a little spicy. That one has an age gap between the two main characters. So the male character is older, and I tend to like those. I don't know why. And it's also like, they're all rich, so it's like, oh, we can do whatever we want. And that is not my life, so I enjoy reading about it because let's live vicariously through fictional characters. Why not? 7:58. Okay. And then I started a new series, which is quite popular if you're on like BookTube or Bookstagram. And that is the Twisted series, I think is what it's called. The first book is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. And again, it's another romance. A lot of these are romances, guys. I'm sorry if you're not a fan. And that one was 360 pages, and I read that in one day. Started on the 6th, and I finished it on the 6th. And I gave it 4.5 stars because it was very good, and my jaw was dropping at the end. I was not expecting what happened, so that was a 4-star for me. Also, I will say, like, I definitely would not consider that a young adult book because, again, it's also spicy, but I'm not opposed to young adult book every now and then. They're very quick to read, and it's kind of like, I don't know, takes you back, you know? I'm not old by any means. I understand that. I'm 32, but sometimes it's just like, man, take me back. When did I get so old? But I know I'm not old, but I'm not 18, you know? Okay, next up, I decided to read the second book in that series, which was Twisted Games. And that was 454 pages. I started that one on January 7th, and I finished it on January 9th. And I loved that book. That was a 5-star for me. I absolutely loved that book. I don't know why. So the main female character is a princess, and the main male character is her bodyguard. So it's like I don't know. Is that like a stereotype? You know, like female falls in love with her bodyguard? Probably. I really enjoyed that book. I don't know. I love royalty. I enjoy reading about royalty. I love like real life royals. I think it's just so crazy to me that people actually live like that I kind of get engrossed, and I think it's so cool. So yeah, I know I'll never be royalty. So isn't that a song? I think it is. Anyway, that was my first 5-star read of the year, and I actually enjoyed this series so much that I went and purchased the physical copy so I could have it on my bookshelves because the books are very pretty. 778. Okay, next up, I read the second book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, which is A Court of Mist and Fury, and that was another 5-star. I absolutely loved that book. I know that it's a lot of people's favorite in the series, and I don't know that it was my favorite. Maybe it was. It probably was. But I really enjoyed it. I read that in about a week. I started it on the 7th and I finished it on the 14th. My physical books take me a little bit longer to read because I tend to only read them at night, whereas I can read my Kindle books throughout the day. And then I went back to the Sullivan series. I'm trying to read 3 of those books a month because, like I said, there are 22 in the series, which is crazy. So yeah, I'm trying to read 3 a month because I don't want to get burnt out on them, and it's not like the end of the world if I don't read them, but just a fun, easy read. So the next one was I Can't Help Falling in Love. That one I started on January 10th. I finished it on the 12th, and that one was a 2-star for me. I remember not enjoying that couple as much the first time I read it, so I didn't really have high hopes this go around, and I guess my tastes haven't changed very much. He's a firefighter, and her apartment building catches on fire, and he saves her and her daughter, and then, like, you know, this whole thing. It was just a little meh for me. I didn't love it. Not my favorite. And then I reread another book, which I have read before on my Kindle, and it is Becoming Mrs. Lockwood by K.I. Lin. It's 521 pages. I started on the 12th. I finished it on the 14th. And this book is so outlandish to me that I loved it. So I gave it 4 stars, but it's such an extreme situation, which I feel like it probably does happen to people. I just could never imagine it happening to me, which is why I think I enjoy the book so much. These two, they meet in Vegas and they get married in like 2 days. And she's 18 and still in high school, and he's 31. And it's just, it's a little much, you know? Talking about it now, I'm like, oh my God, these people are going to think I'm crazy. But again, the books that are just so out of left field for me, like that have me thinking, does this really happen to people, are the ones that I tend to enjoy so much because it's so outlandish. Now, obviously, he's a billionaire and they just have all this money and do all this stuff. So it's just, it makes me giggle. But I did really actually enjoy this story. And I do remember reading it and enjoying it the first time around. So judge me if you must, but I did enjoy it. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Next up, I don't know if I can get this tape off. I save these little pictures. I have a little envelope that I keep all of my finished diamond paintings in, like the pictures of them. So I want to cut the tape off so I can put it in there. Okay, next up, I read Icebreaker by the author Hannah Grace. And this one I picked because it was like, it seemed to fit the season. He's a hockey player, she's an ice skater, and just kind of gave me winter vibes. So I went for it. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. It is quite spicy though, surprisingly, because the cover is like cartoony. You would not anticipate the spice. But I will say that this male main character, I absolutely loved him. He was so adorable. Did not love the main female. She wasn't it for me. She was a little much. I wasn't into it, but he was so cute. I loved him. So I started that one on January 15th and I finished it on January 18th. That was another physical book that I read. Next up, I continued the Twisted series with the 3rd book, which was Twisted Hate. I hated this book. I gave it 2.5 stars. There are some things that happened in this book that just ticked me the heck off, and it was so toxic and I did not enjoy. It wasn't a favorite. Some people, it's their favorite in the series, and to each their own. I did not enjoy it. 3726. It just wasn't it for me. I didn't really like either of the main characters. The male in this book was the older brother of the female from the first book. I didn't like him in that book either. The female is her best friend. I didn't really like her in the first book either, so it wasn't a favorite. But when I commit to a series, I have a really hard time not finishing it. So I was not going to quit the series just because I didn't like these characters, because I really liked the characters from the next book. I started that one on the 17th and I finished it on the 18th. So then I went and finished the rest of the series, which is Twisted Lies. 5 star. 5 star. I loved that book. I want a Christian of my own, not Christian Grey. I loved this book. I would read it again. And I will, because I bought the physical copy. I will read it again in the future because I loved it. That's all I'm going to say. He's a billionaire. I think you guys are probably catching on that I enjoy the billionaire vibes because you've got to live vicariously through books. Because I will never be a billionaire, and that's okay. as long as people keep writing books about them and I can pretend. 3740. Okay, and then I went back to the Court of Thorns and Roses series and I started A Court of Wings and Ruin. This one was 700 pages. It was thick. I started it on the 19th. I finished it on the 23rd. And this was another 5-star for me. I really enjoyed it. I was kind of concerned because I had heard a lot of people say that it was very like political. Obviously, it's called A Court of Wings and Ruin. The acronym for it is ACA-WAR. So it's about war. And I had heard a lot of people saying that like it was just too much for them. They had a hard time following. I absolutely loved it. I really, really enjoyed that one. So what is that for that series? The first one was what, 4.5, I think. And then the second and third were 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. 3743. I'm almost done with Asteris. I have just a few colors left. All right. It's not so bad to dekit while I'm just talking to you guys. It kind of takes my mind off of it and makes it not so awful. 3773. Do I not have a... That's weird. 3773. I do not have a card for. So I must have it in here. Again, once I reorganize my spares, I will address all of the missing labels. I think what I might do, yeah, let me just put this one aside and I will deal with that after. 3778. Do I have one for you? Yes. All right, let me finish up this kit. I will grab another one and then we'll finish talking books. 3778. I have 3779. Oh, 37, not 37.99, 37.79. 38.59. Man, some of these higher ones, well, I guess that makes sense because my label maker died, so that does make sense. Oh, I might need to start. Look at how full that bag is. I don't think I'm gonna put these one in, so let's make another bag. I do keep full bags of drill colors in a different location, so I will deal with that again after we're done. So 3861. Round 3861. All right. Come out. Thank you. And our final color is 3865, which I have a bag for. I did not use any of these for this kit because I changed them all to AB 3865. And then we have our trash, which will just go right into this little jar. I save all of my trash. If you watch my post reviews, you probably know, but I save all of my trash because I like to share it with you all as I'm talking about my kit. So that is our first kit down. What did I work on after that? I think it's, is this floating along? Yes, it is. All right. So let's get into this one. These are a little bit more annoying to de-kit out of, but we'll see what happens. I'm also going to leave the ABs that are here. I will deal with those at a different time. You guys know I am revamping my spare drill storage. So I think what I'll do is I will just put these in little baggies and set them to the side. Because as I work on redoing all of my ABs, I plan to color, like DMC match Diamond Art Club's ABs. So like find out what 105 is in the regular DMC, and then I'll just combine them with the other ABs I have. So when you purchase from like DP with Sparklers or diamond painting drills, shimmering canvases, you generally have them in a DMC number, not their own code, which is how Diamond Art Club does it. So I'm gonna leave these 6 off to the side and I will deal with those later, but we will kit down the rest. So 208 is another full bag, but hopefully I can squeeze these in. I think I might use a tray with the Craftmate lock bowls because it could get messy if I don't. Okay, so we talked about A Court of Wings and Ruin. So my next book was Forever Never from Lucy Score. Lucy Score is one of my favorite authors. I have been following her work for quite a while now, and this book, the cover grabbed my attention. I don't know why, just because it was very like wintry, I guess. And as you just saw, this book was a 5-star for me. I had some good books in January, which makes me very happy. I feel like when I start out strong with good books, I'm just like, I'm off to the races. I love reading good books. So I started this book on January 19th and I finished it on the 22nd. It's another one of those Kindle Unlimited books that I loved so much. I bought the physical copy for my library, which is coming. I keep saying that. I do have a little tour that I will be sharing with you guys, but I've been waiting for Steven to help me hang up a few things, but it's snowmobile season, so he's often not around on the weekends. And I need to use anchors, and I'm more than happy to hang my own stuff. Like I've hung all of our window treatments. I've always done that stuff when I was younger, and it was just my mother and I was the one that always did the hanging of things and the putting together of things. So it's not so much that I don't feel comfortable, but with anchors, like having to screw the holes and then hammer in the anchors, I would just rather have him there with me and that we would do it together. Plus it's like spacing and that kind of stuff. So when he has a chance, we're hoping that maybe we can do it after work one day this week, because I would like to share the space that I've put together with you guys. So yes, that was Forever Never. It was a 5-star. That was a romance, but there was a touch of mystery, which was interesting. I don't normally read mystery because I'm a scaredy cat, but I did really, really enjoy that book. I would recommend. It is a little spicy though. So again, if you're not into spice, I don't judge you, but don't judge me. After that, I read Ghosted, which was also on my Kindle, another Kindle Unlimited book that I bought the physical copy of. And I started that one on the 24th and I finished it on the 24th. And it was another 5-star. It really was. And I think maybe you can see that I really enjoyed it with all of my things that I added to the page. Something that was really cool about this book that I didn't realize going in is it happens very, very close to where I'm from. So they name dropped the big city like multiple times. And I was just like, every time I read it, I was like, oh, that's so cool. So maybe that lended to why I kind of liked it. It's not the city I live in, but it's in the same county, so it's kind of cool. But I did enjoy that one. I kind of went into that one blind. I didn't really know what it was about, but I liked it very much. Again, lots of money. He's an actor. So, you know, I think you guys have me figured out by now. And then I read Take Me Home by Carrie Elks. This is the start of a series that I did not continue with this month, but it's in my mind. Like I said, I very rarely do I give up on a series because I need to know what happens to all the characters. This one is about I think is he a country singer? And he dated her older sister when they were teenagers, and he comes back to town, and yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was not very like spicy or anything. It was more of a closed door romance, if you will, but I did enjoy it, and I will go back and read the rest of the series at some point. It's not on my list for this month, but it'll happen. So I have a tab for this color, but there's no bag in there, which leads me to believe that I must have filled the baggie the last time I had this color and I didn't replace it. So I don't think I'm going to get to all 4 kits with you guys. We're already at 41 minutes, and I don't want this to be like a 2-hour long thing, but we'll see where we end up. 322. Oh shoot, there was one in here. I'm so blind. Oh well. I'll address that when I do my reorganization. Okay, then, oh, I didn't tell you. I gave that book a 3-star. It was a 3-star. I enjoyed it. Wasn't my favorite, but they were cute. And there wasn't really anything. So, you know when you read a romance book or you watch like a Hallmark movie and there's always this like, they either hated each other or they were childhood romances, or, you know, there's always this thing, right? They come together, then something big dramatic happens, they break up, and then they come back together. Normally that's how romance books work, or Hallmark movies work, because a lot of romance books are just Hallmark movies and vice versa. There wasn't anything like big that happened that pulled these two apart. They just kind of went through a couple of things, but they didn't really give up on each other, which was cute. I like that. It was a nice change. I did enjoy the book. 334 is our next color, but this bag is full, so let me make another sticker. All right, and then I read Marriage for One by Ella Maisie. I started this on the 25th. I finished it on the 26th, and it was a 4-star for me. Now, again, this is another one of those like completely outlandish books to me. Like, does this actually happen? It can. So they got married under the guise that like he was helping her keep a piece of property, but really he just fell in love with her at first sight and wanted to marry her and didn't want her to marry her fiance, so he paid him off. Like, it was just so, does that really happen to people? I don't know. But their names were Rose and Jack, which just made my Titanic loving heart so happy. I thought that was so cute. It was cute. I liked it. I'm not ashamed. I did like it. Who cares? And then I read Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. And I started that one on the 27th. I finished it on the 27th, and I gave it a 4-star. That book was a lot. It's a brother's best friend romance at first, and then he's an a-hole. So she meets someone else, and then something dramatic happens, and oh, it was a lot. It was a lot to take in, but I really liked the second male character. His name was Noah. I really loved him. He was so cute. And it was a good read. I cried. I will not lie, I cried. I haven't told you what books I cried at, but that's probably for the best. 368. I did cry for this one. Something happens that had me bawling, so. But it was good. I liked it. And I also purchased the physical copy because the cover is so pretty. And I want it on my bookshelf. And I will read it again in the future. Because there were some really good quotes in that one. I don't write in my books. I feel like I should mention that. I do not write in my books, to each their own. But I'm not opposed to a sticky tab or two to highlight important things that happen or quotes that I like or something like that. After that, all right. After that, I read The Confidence of Wildflowers. And this book ripped me to shreds. Something happened. I will not say, on the off chance that somebody wants to go read it. Something happens that I did not see coming. It came completely out of left field and I lost it. I literally sobbed as I was reading it. And Steven was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes, this book." I went back again. This was a Kindle Unlimited book. I purchased the physical copy. It came in the mail the other day and I went back and I read that scene again because I'm a glutton for punishment. And it still hit. I still cried like a baby. So Steven came over my shoulder and started reading it. And he was like, "Jesus Christ, Laura, what are you reading?" So, you know, it was... I will say there is an age gap. She's 18, he's 30, 31, I think. But that's not really what the story's about. But it kind of is. They're neighbors and anyway. Yes. And it ended on somewhat of a cliffhanger, which ticked me off. But not really, because then I got to read a whole nother book about them. But The Confidence of Wildflowers, 5-star. I've heard from others that they didn't like it, and that's, that's reading. To each their own. I really enjoyed it, and I cried like a baby. So, 5 stars. Did I start that the same night? I can't remember. I went back to the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I read the little novella, which is A Court of Frost and Starlight, which I really wanted to read in January because it follows them during, what do they call it? They don't call it Christmas. They call it, winter solstice. It follows them during winter solstice, which is like their Christmas kind of. And I really wanted to get that in January, and I liked it. It was just a little novella. It was like 200 and something pages. I gave it 3 stars just because I don't really feel like the series needed it. But after the events of A Court of Wings and Ruin, I could see why the author wanted to put it out, because it was kind of like we're all good, that kind of thing. Like, this is what's happening and we're happy and kind of happy, kind of happy. But I did enjoy it. It was a quick read. I read it in one night. It took me a couple of hours, but I did enjoy it, but I don't necessarily think the series needs it. So if you're reading A Court of Thorns and Roses and you're not sure about the novella, I don't think it's necessarily a must read unless you kind of just want to hang out with the characters a little bit more. And then hold on. I read The Confidence of Wildflowers. I read on the 28th through the 29th. And then the night of the 28th, I read that little novella. And then first thing the next morning on the 29th, I think this was a Saturday and a Sunday, I started The Resurrection of Wildflowers, which is the second book to The Confidence of Wildflowers. And I read that in the day. And something else happened that had me crying again. But that was a 4-star for me. It was more so just like them finding each other again and building trust again. So I did enjoy it. It was a happy ending, but something does happen that had me crying again. And the main female character, her name is Salem. She kind of ticked me off a little bit because something happened at the end of the first book that she didn't tell Thayer, who's the main male character. She didn't tell him, and she kept it from him for a few years. So didn't love that. Don't really stand with those vibes, but I did enjoy the book, and I enjoyed the ending a lot. So I enjoyed that series so much that I went and purchased both of the physical copies from Amazon. And then Barnes & Noble's had the bind up of them. So it's like a big honkin' book with both books in it. So yeah, I purchased all three of those because why not? I don't need money for anything real life. I need to buy books and diamond paintings. Didn't you know? I say that, but I'm also kidding because I'm an adult and I know that I need to pay my bills and save money. So just saying, because I'm sure somebody will say something about that. But anyway, I have a job, okay? I make money. And then I read Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. I think this was a Kindle book, and I read it from the 20th to the 21st, no, the 30th to the 31st. And this book was kind of wacky. It was a romance, but also a mystery. Like, the main male character went missing as a child. He was kidnapped, and he comes back like 22 years later. And he was under the impression that the world had like imploded. Like, he was kept in a basement under the guise that the world was toxic, and he couldn't ever leave. He wouldn't be able to breathe. All of his family was dead. So it was kind of quite a bit different than I was expecting, but it was interesting. But also I didn't really love the female lead. So I gave it 3 stars, but it was good. I did like it. I love how I'm saying that as like a question. Like, was it good? It was. I liked the writing. It was just really different from what I was expecting, but I liked it. That one is on Kindle Unlimited if you have Kindle Unlimited. And then I was able to squeeze in one more book on the 31st, and it was Say When by the author Michaela Smeltzer, who wrote The Confidence and Resurrection of Wildflowers. So I was like, oh, she ripped my heart out once, so let's do it again. And I enjoyed it, but not as much as those other 2 books that I've mentioned countless times. But then I went back and I kind of read her blurb, and she wrote this during COVID, and she said, like, I feel like we all just need a feel-good book where nothing bad happens. So it was kind of just like a fluffy type of romance. However, he is her college professor, so it's another age gap, which I feel like this makes, this is giving off that I'm a strange person. I'm not. I'm actually older than Steven, fun fact. But she was 18, he was again 30. This author must like writing that specific age gap. But he was her professor. They didn't know. They met out at a bar or something, and he kind of rescued her from a creepy guy that wouldn't leave her alone. And then they hang out. They find out they live across the apartments from each other, and then they don't find out that she's in his class until the first day of school, and then he tries to stay away and all this stuff. So nobody like throws them under the bus or anything. It's just, it was interesting. I gave it 2 stars. I didn't hate it, but it also wasn't like life-changing. I didn't think it was the greatest book of all time, but I liked it enough to give it 2 stars. I feel like as much as I hate the like angst of, okay, what's going to happen, I kind of miss it when it's not in books. So when I started this book and I found out, okay, he's their professor, what's going to happen? Somebody's going to catch them. Somebody's going to throw them under the bus. And that just never happened. But when I went back again and I read her, what she had to say about the book, if I had read it first, I probably would have been like, oh, okay, so this is just like a you know, maybe we're not supposed to be together, but we love each other, so let's be together type of thing. So, but those are the 22 books that I read in January. I kind of went gung-ho. My goal for the month was 8. And because I thought the Court of Thorns and Roses series was going to take me a lot longer. But I do read quite quickly, which I'm not trying to be like, I'm a fast reader, but I do read pretty quickly. So I am able to get through my books pretty fast. I didn't want to say quickly again because I said it so many times. So I'm not going to finish de-kitting with you guys, but we got 1.5 kits done. We're almost at an hour. I don't want this to be much longer because my phone memory will start yelling and I need to get this edited and ready to go for tomorrow. So maybe I need to do this twice a month. Maybe I need to do 2 kits and then 2 kits at the end of the month where I talk about my books. I don't know. We'll figure it out together. But let me know if you enjoyed the de-kitting process. Let me know if the camera angle was okay, if you felt like you guys could see enough. And let me know if talking about books is something that you're interested in or if I should just cut that from the channel. I totally understand if it's something that you don't want to hear me talk about because I feel like a lot of times you find a channel that's dedicated to something and then they start to kind of veer off and they have all of these other things. And my channel is Diamond Paintings by Laura. So this will be diamond painting content. I have a little segment that I call Real Life with Laura that I'll occasionally add a small little video or a bonus video of something that's happening in my life, but the content will primarily be and stay diamond painting. So if hearing about books isn't it for you, I totally understand. I will not be offended if you tell me down below that you don't want to hear it. So maybe I'll put up a poll on my community tab so we can get a little bit of a better idea. I just thought it would be something fun and something different to talk about. I know that a lot of us in the community are readers. There are a lot of people over on Instagram that share their books and stuff in their stories along with their diamond paintings. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys. If it's something you enjoyed, let me know. If it's something that isn't your cup of tea, also let me know. Again, I'll put up a poll over on my community tab. So if you guys don't mind going over and letting me know your thoughts there, you can also leave a comment down below. But I feel like the poll will give us a little bit of a better feel. But my feelings will not be hurt because I know that reading is very specific. The stuff I read may not be what you want to read or what you want to hear about. And if you'd rather just hear about life and other things, that's fine too. I will, however, say in case this influences your answer, this would be just a once a month thing. So when I sit down to de-kit at the beginning of the month, I'll go through the books that I read the previous month. So maybe you're willing to skip a video and then you'll come back for the next one. Just let me know your thoughts. I'm open to anything. I want to make sure that I'm obviously putting out content that you guys enjoy. So if it's not books, then it's not books. And I'll just keep reading to myself and we'll go from there. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. I'm sorry I didn't get to all of these kits. There were a lot of colors in most of these, so it is what it is. But yeah, let me know if you enjoyed today's video, if you would like to continue seeing the de-kitting process and your thoughts on book information or no book information. So with that, I will see you guys in Wednesday's video, which will be a small shop haul. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. Bye.